Welcome to the Saints Martini, a cocktails and conversation podcast with your hosts, the Saint and the Halo, Warren and Irish.
Well, hello, welcome, g'day, whatever your terminology is, to another podcast of the Saints Martini with myself, Warren the Saint, and of course, Irish the Halo. How are you today? It's been a few weeks since we've talked, actually, I think.
It has actually, yeah. And we came back in January and did a show, and then I think did we put it up? I don't know.
Oh yes. Oh no, we put it up. We did. Yeah, we did. Don't worry. It's
okay.
We
so
did.
That one went up.
Yeah, we did. It was. I think it was congratulations, Joe Biden. I think. Was it inauguration or inauguration was just about to happen, or
it was about to happen,
something like that?
Yes.
I think I tend to remember. I think.
Wait a minute now. Have we discussed what happened from the Capitol insurrection?
We did, because that was
the
6th of January, wasn't it? So
okay, yeah, it was. Yeah.
So yes, yes, we did.
It's been a bit, yeah. It's been a minute since we've been on, so you'll have to excuse me.
But what we did do is we did talk about the fact that it. Yes, Trump's terrorists tried to take over the government in the only coup in American history, to my knowledge, or the only coup attempt, I should say. Apart from
we did have a whole Civil War thing in a way, but yes, it was the only armed insurrection that ever went right up into the Capitol building. Sure, I mean, yeah.
This is very true. The Confederacy didn't get any further than Gettysburg, did they? Pennsylvania.
No, they did not.
That was as close as they got. Oh, well, actually, it's not quite true. Was it Stuart?
Stuart?
No, the cavalry guy got into Washington, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, you're right. I'm wrong. You're right. Yeah, because I can't remember. Because you know why? I try not to think too much about the Civil War. There's a lot of reminders still around our country, especially in the areas where I have kind of habitated for most of my adult life, in places I've visited, which was horrifying. So yeah, we have a lot of issues still in this country. And I think that, Trump, of course, didn't create that. I think we all know that he was just a symptom of what was going on. He just really made it easier for those people to come out in public and claim who they were with weird pride. Yes. He really did try to have his own vice president killed. Those assholes built a gallows. They were looking for them. There was some really scary shit that happened. A lot of our senators and representatives went through some very frightening moments. And then today, they concluded his second impeachment trial, the only president to ever be impeached twice in our country's entire history. He, of course, was not convicted because to do so would have required 17 Republicans to come over, and we got 7 instead of 17. But it was still the most bipartisan impeachment vote that had ever taken place. They didn't call witnesses, and I know a lot of people are mad about that. I kind of get why they didn't. It wouldn't have mattered. And I think leaving some of that stuff to the criminal courts, which I hope our Justice Department will actually act on some actual criminal charges. They're a little harder to prove, but I think that there's ample evidence to prove. And even people like McConnell, after they voted to acquit him, he came up there and told everybody how absolutely fucking guilty Trump was for inciting the violence and the insurrection, was absolutely responsible for saying those things and making those people believe the things that they did and cause them to act on the words that he had been feeding them for months. He got up there and admitted he was absolutely guilty. But, they didn't they acquitted him and they didn't vote that he was guilty because they didn't really feel they had a real legal standing to do so. It's some bullshit.
I was expecting him just to say, it's locker room talk. It's just locker room talk, Armed insurrection, just locker room talk,
Yeah, that's a free speech issue, apparently, according to the Republicans. We're just allowed to say anything that will incite an actual insurrection against our own government, put our own representatives and senators at risk of death and torture. That shit's fine, apparently, because you know what? The Justice Department during Trump and before that has a memo that says a president can't be prosecuted for anything he does criminally in office because he's president. And that would interfere with his job of being president, even if while he's doing his job as president, he's just committing crime after crime. You have to wait till he gets out of office to do that. Well, guess what? You also can't impeach a president, they say, supposedly, or convict him because he's out of office. So what the fuck does our impeachment clause in our Constitution even mean? If these actions that Trump was absolutely responsible for, according to someone like Mitch McConnell, if those are not impeachable offenses, if those are not a reason to hold somebody accountable in a way that they can no longer ever hold office again, even if they are already out of office, just because the Constitution said they shall be removed from office, it doesn't mean that that's the only thing that you're doing when you convict somebody now. It would have kept him from actually being able to hold any future office in the federal government. He wouldn't have been able to run for president again, which they're talking about him doing in 2024.
Do you know, honestly, I think if he tries to run again, first of all, he'll be 78 years old if he tries to run again.
You think that matters to him in any way?
Well, yeah, I know
he's mentally ill in a way that's dangerous. No, people. Not in a just we're all having some depression kind of mentally ill way, which we all have. This guy is dangerous. Okay, and he's not okay.
Yeah. Do you think he wants the presidency for another 8 years that much that he would run again? I mean, literally, to run a presidency where he'd be 78, so that means he'd be, 82, then 86 years old by the time he left. Well, worked on the premise that he would never leave because he would have started a one-party state by the time that would have happened. Do you think he wants that much? Do you think he wants his legacy to be the man that brought the one-party system to America? I mean,
he wants people to worship him as our dear leader. That's literally in his brain what he wanted. He worked desperately to do everything he could to try to overturn our legal election. Because he believes, and he joked about it, and I say joke with air quotes here, because over time he always tests out the different things that he's going to start pushing for by joking about it. Oh, maybe I'll stay in another 8 years or 10 years or who knows. Maybe I'll be lifetime president. That's not a joke. He's testing those things out because in his mind, that's what he'd like to do. He and his entire family, except for maybe Melania, who I know hates him, even though she's also a horrible fucking person, but who wouldn't hate him? His children are fucking pariahs. That the only thing they care about is the power that they were getting and the things they were being able to do, and the money they were making from their daddy having the power. So they were willing, even though I know for a fucking fact, those people know that man is not mentally capable of making good decisions, but they don't care because they're benefiting from it. So they will continue to do everything they can to try to push him up there. And yes, I do believe that if he really thought people were still behind him to push him into that role, that he would do it. I do believe he would do it because I think he wants to be a dictator. I think he admires them. He admires them all over the world. He wants that. And because he's so broken and ignorant, the man literally thought that presidents actually could just do whatever they wanted. He thought Obama could do whatever he wanted, and that he actually wasn't being protected. He was actually being protected by his own Secretary of State and his own Attorney General. He was getting away with things he was doing all kinds of illegal things and getting away with it because those people were protecting him. That's why he was so mad when people weren't protecting him here the way he felt like he should have that, because he really thought he could just do whatever he wanted and that it was his right as president. The man literally fundamentally doesn't understand the very basic concept of our Constitution and our country. But he's mentally broken enough to want. And he's surrounded by enough fucking crazy people with no morality and no integrity who just want to take power and things from him because of his position. They will continue to prop him up. The Republican Party made a choice today. We got 7 of them. Thank God they had some fucking integrity, those people. I think some of them voted for it because they knew that it wasn't really going to go through and it worked for them in their districts, but I don't give a goddamn. I really don't. I'm so frustrated by this whole thing.
I fully understand. I mean, do you think, this is one thing I've heard, is that the Republican Party, for want of a term of a bigger movement, has basically said, right, we found you not guilty, but the price for that is you get the fuck out of Dodge. Like, in other words, we found you guilty, but you are not the kingmaker. This was the deal we've made. Like, because I've heard some people say on CNN that he sees himself as the kingmaker. Even if he doesn't run, he sees himself as the puppeteer.
Well, they just held him up as that today. And just the other day, Kevin McCarthy went down there with that fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene crazy woman. Went down to Mar-a-Lago and they met with him. Okay, yes.
God, to the Southern White House. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And went down and met with him and then came back before this trial went on. You know, those people are still waiting for his signals. They're doing what he's asking them to do, even from there. It's like he's trying to set up a crazy shadow government from his little shithole down in Florida.
The question is, I don't want to shame anybody. Do you know what I mean? I do. But she has serious mental health issues, right? Yes. I mean, what was her idea? Was it the Jews have space lasers on the moon or something, which caused the wildfires in California? I mean, this woman is fucking insane. She's nuts. She is total nut job.
Yeah, we've discussed this. I have a family member that believes these same things, and you know what the difference is? My family member isn't fucking in Congress. You know, I don't understand how these people have gotten there. Not only have they gotten there, but they've been embraced by people, again, okay, who they did the same thing with Trump. When he first came out and was running for president, they're like, oh, well, he's crazy and we'd be right to be destroyed as a party if we vote for him. And then they did vote for him, and then they all sucked his ass for 4 years. And they're still doing it, even now. They've made these choices. And I would like to think, and my mother has decided now, oh, this is going to ruin the GOP. Well, you know what? We say that every 2 weeks. It's not. And I reminded her again, it isn't going to ruin the GOP. You know why? Because people are fucking stupid.
Well, see, I would argue that we will not know where the GOP really is for another 12 months. Because it will be the run into the midterms with what candidates they put up. That will tell us who the hell they are. Like, if they're putting up endless QAnon conspiracy theorists and all this sort of stuff, then we know they are still the party of Trump. If they're not, if they're putting up what Bill Maher calls, Republican classic, then we know that they're broken with Trump. But I don't think we'll really know until the midterms. Do you think?
Republican classic, I don't think it exists anymore.
You don't?
I'm going to be honest with you. No.
Well, that's
Once Obama, listen, yeah. I'm going to say this. Once Obama came along, that shit died. Okay, because all of a sudden we had the Tea Party that came out. Okay, and where are those tricorn hat motherfuckers now?
Well,
they're nowhere to be seen.
Well, they became the Freedom Caucus that became QAnon, that became Trumpists.
No. Freedom Caucus didn't become QAnon. QAnon infiltrated those things. And you know why? Because the Republican Party is completely willing to embrace any new random bullshit if they think it will get them votes, which kills me because yet again, they're showing their hypocrisy. Their entire platform is supposed to be conservatism. Well, why don't they conserve their motherfucking views for a change then? I am so sick of them just with the wind blowing. They just change whatever and they become worse and worse and worse. And they continue to play to the lowest common denominator in our society, which, hey, you've seen America, runs pretty fucking low. And I am exhausted and I'm angry, but I'm hopeful, but I'm also not naive enough to believe that these people are just going to go away. They're not. This stuff's getting worse. And the problem now, and I know everybody's happy that Trump is off Twitter, and there's something to be said for that, and I'm glad he's gone too in that way because I really am sick and fucking tired of seeing his face and hearing his voice. But the problem with me for him being off of a main social media site is that we pushed him into the places where only the worst of the worst are going to follow him. And now we have to rely on others who are willing to put themselves into those worlds to report to us what's happening. And I think it's easier for groups like that to become worse when they're really just deeper and deeper into their own bubbles. And that's kind of what's happening here. I think we are a really pivotal point in our country right now. And everybody's saying, oh, Joe Biden's been elected, everything's fine now. Well, everything isn't fine. All the damage that's been done over all this time is going to take decades for us to repair. And to do that, we're going to have to actively be working as hard as we can to fix the problems that our country has. And unfortunately, right now, everybody's worried about healing the nation and making everyone unity and blah, blah, blah. And they're not paying attention to the fact that we literally can't have unity with people who want us dead. Like, you can't do that. And I'm not being hyperbolic here. People have been telling me I've been being hyperbolic for years now, and everything that I've said over time has kind of taken place. You know, we've got a lot of stuff that's still going to come to light once some actual investigations go through, but we're actually going to really have to push for those because there's too much movement in our country to just sweep shit under the rug and let it go and move on. And I think that's really our biggest problem here.
Well, it's a bit like it's a bit like I remember meeting an Israeli once, and I remember them saying to me, "You can't make peace with somebody whose entire ideology is based around your extermination."
Yes.
And
how could you do that?
Now I don't fully agree with what they said because they were talking about the Palestinians, and it's not actually that simple. But,
well, no, it's not.
Okay, it's not. But,
absolutely not.
Okay, but that whole idea, I mean, for instance, if they were talking about Iran, well, yeah, actually, that is true. Iranian constitution still talks about Jewish extermination. So, yeah, absolutely. You know, I get what you're saying. But it's like, how do you deal with that?
It's exactly right. And I know we have to share a planet with people who would really prefer if we just disappeared. And yeah, I don't want them to disappear. I want them to be better people. That's what I want. I think that the best thing that could happen is if they had some weird awakening. And you know what's weird? I keep seeing now on the media, they keep showing these people who are deep into QAnon and those conspiracy theories. And they're coming on and going, I used to be really like the worst. And they showed their tweets and their different things and they were terrible. And they're like, and then I realized I was being fooled and blah, blah, blah. But they never, ever, ever tell us what it was that brought them around. What was it that finally reached you? Because God dang it, I know a lot of us are dealing with people in our own lives, in our own families that are caught up in this, and we don't know how to reach them. And that's the scary part.
I have heard some people say what turned them against QAnon was that their representatives sent by God, Donald J. Trump, abandoned them when they needed him, Not, in other words, when he needed them, but when they needed him, when they're being marched in front of courts, facing 20-year jail terms, and, and that's the uncle of, and that's the cousin of, and that's the girlfriend of, or the boyfriend of, or the father of, or the daughter of. And Donald Trump was silent. Even though he egged them on. I mean, that fact that he had that phone call where he was told they are coming after Pence, and he immediately hung up the phone and then sent a tweet saying, go after Pence.
Yeah, within 10 minutes, yeah. Absolutely. Basically, not saying go after Pence, but attacking Pence, saying he didn't do what he needed to do to protect our country.
He may as well have said, go and shoot him. He may as well have sent out a tweet saying, if you see Pence, shoot him. Because he literally, it's the same thing. It's like he was tweeting to a mob. A mob doesn't think straight.
He didn't care what happened.
I know.
He just cared that they were doing it for him. He literally couldn't have cared less what the outcome was, as long as he was the hero to those people. That's why he told them, go home and love and peace, and you're very special.
You're very special. We love you. I know. But I think their problem was that once they then went home and the FBI started knocking on their front doors and their places of work saying,
hello.
we have a set of handcuffs for you, sir or madam. And
where was Trump?
And Trump was nowhere. He was gone.
Of course.
Right?
But you know what? He said the same shit, though, when he was running for president, and there was stuff at his rallies, and they were beating up protesters that were there.
I'll pay for your legal fees.
I'll pay your legal bills. Did he pay their legal bills? Fuck no, he did not.
He didn't even.
He doesn't pay for his own bills.
Do you know that
he's not going to pay his own attorneys?
You know that the what was it? The young Trumpians or whatever, that singing and dancing young. Do you know they never fucking got paid in 4 years? Trump has still not paid them.
Those little girls?
Never paid them in 4 years.
He's a grifter. And I'm sorry, the best indicator of future behavior is, in the predictor of it, is past behavior, okay? The man doesn't pay his bills. You know why? He doesn't think he has to. He doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself. So he doesn't do that. Don't do work for him. You're not going to get paid. Duh.
But here's the thing. If the banks have basically written him off, he's got 38 pending lawsuits against him, which are either civil or state-based. Is he going to be a little bit busy in the next few years to even consider politics? I mean, is he going to be a little bit busy having to deal with the fact whether he needs Medicaid because he's going to go bankrupt? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you think. I would like to think that. I'm more cynical. After all this time, and I'm just a cynical person in general, I guess, I just don't believe that's going to happen.
Well, did you?
Because this man has gone through his entire life, and there has literally never been a single fucking consequence for anything. You know what the biggest consequence he's ever experienced was? Losing this last election. That's it.
Yeah. Well,
that's it. And even since then, nothing else has happened to him. And I'm going to just wait, but I'm cynical, and I don't believe anything else is going to happen to him. So I hope he has a miserable, lingering, suffering death. And I'm sorry. I'm not sorry for saying it.
It's when you've got someone who is so horrifically horrible, it's I can't feel sympathy for them. You know, it's like, do I feel sympathy for Mussolini? No, I don't. You know, I mean, his death was actually really horrendous. And the death of his mistress and that was pretty horrendous, but I don't feel any sympathy for them. You know, they made a very conscious choice that killed millions of people.
Yes.
You know? It's like
Trump is a stochastic terrorist.
Yeah, it's
okay?
like
he incited terrorism.
Yes. It's like, oh, well, you should feel sympathy, you know, when Pol Pot died. No, I don't. I held a party. I launched fireworks when Pol Pot died. You know, that man killed, I don't know how many million people that man killed. You know what I mean? No. Yeah. You know, and this is the other thing too. And this is the thing that annoys me about this whole Republican let's find peace argument at the moment. It's a little bit like, this is like the Nazis. You know, it's like, oh, we invade the Soviet Union. Now the Soviet Union are fucking on the doorsteps of Berlin 3 years later, and we're saying, have sympathy. Really? Right? And it's like, I mean, oh my God. I still remember in the 1980s people talking about we need to negotiate with Pol Pot rather than destroy the Khmer Rouge. And I remember thinking, what? No, let's kill every fucking one of them. They're the Khmer Rouge. These people are the Nazis of the 1980s. No, let's get rid of them. We don't negotiate with them. Sorry, I just had to have a rant. But, and remember too, Cambodia, much more close to my heart. I'm an Australian. It's my part of the world. You know, it's not... Yeah, I know that's to a Norwegian.
I'm not normally wishing for a bunch of people to die, but I can say to you that I wouldn't be sad if Trump had like a massive stroke and had some terrible, lingering, terrible, horrible, suffering death. And I say that not because I think that that's the way I feel about everybody in the country who voted for him. I don't want to write those people off. My hope is they will come back to us, because really the only thing that would take for me to bring people in my own family back into my circle would be for them to actually just stop. Just stop with the constant conspiracy theories and the anger and the like, I just don't know how anybody can be like that all the time and be mentally stable. I think sometimes these people who get caught up in this stuff get surrounded by it. And it's not that I wouldn't welcome them back. I don't want them dead. I certainly don't. You know, but goddamn, wake the fuck up. And until you do, I just don't have the energy to be around you. And I am worried about the country because it's affected so many people. It's affected so many people of so many different intelligence levels, and you just wonder what the fuck. But I honestly think the thing that kind of binds them all together is that they just lack the capacity for abstract reasoning. Like, they just don't understand what a good source is. They don't understand how you decide whether or not something you hear is something that you accept and make a part of your entire being. And I understand why people wanted to do something about the things they heard from QAnon. They've been spoon-fed these weird things over a long time, and they'd come in nefariously through these different channels. And I understand how it happens. I just want them to wake up.
Well, the thing is that if you view it from the viewpoint of a Trumpist, okay, a devout Trumpist. So what is a devout... I'm not talking about a Republican, because I have seen a number of Republicans that I know who have said they do not like Joe Biden. They're worried about the next 4 years. However...
You don't have to like him.
Wait, but that's exactly right. And their argument is, we'll do battle for the presidency in 4 years' time. We'll see you at the midterms, right? They still believe in democracy. Like, it's still, you know, they've got that argument. The problem with the Trumpists is they're not like that. You know, their whole attitude, I mean, they actually believe the Democratic Party is in league with the Screen Actors Guild, to run a pedophile fucking fund, which is funded by the Venezuelan government. Okay, so the pedophile thing is actually not about pedophilia. It's about getting young children so they can murder them and eat them. Like,
yes,
it's like this is so fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Now,
I have a family member who believes those things.
I know.
And no matter what you say, you just can't get them to understand that the concept of that literally doesn't even make fucking sense.
But I suppose what I'm trying to get to is that I'll stop yelling too. Sorry. It's okay. No, yeah. If you believe that, like, if you are the mindset which is very easily led, which these people obviously are. So if you are so easily led that you believe this stuff, then what happened on January the 6th? They see that as like that was them trying to save the world. Do you know? Like, because they're so nuts. They actually thought what they were doing was saving the planet. And that's the problem. When you get people to that point, when Trumpists are at that point, you cannot deal with those people anymore. You can deal with Republicans, but you cannot deal with Trumpists. They are nuts. Absolutely nuts. I don't know. I don't know what else I can say, And I will say something else. I think Irish's connection.
No.
Oh, no.
Oh,
you're back. Oh, no.
Right here.
Right. Oh, there we go.
I was just trying not to talk over you because I'm bad about that. So
No. I'm the one that does that. Sorry, I'm the one that does that. So I'm terrible at that. I'm terrible at that. So no, but that's the thing. I mean, I have seen. I don't know. I've seen a couple of comments by a woman that both of us do not like, and that's the daughter of the McCain. I forgot Meghan McCain, but I have Meghan McCain. Sorry, but I've heard her say a few things over the last several weeks, and I sort of go, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm agreeing with you."
Oh, I hate it when I agree with her. That pisses me off.
Right?
But yes, it happens. Yeah.
And it's like, have we now got to a stage where that idea of what I said, Republican classic, for want of a better word, it's just a term, okay, is that the Trumpists have gone so far to the extreme that we are literally talking, it's now a fascist movement, that these people don't have a home anymore. Like, they do not have a home anymore. They can't get in bed with the Democrats because they just don't believe the ideology of the Democrats. But they're not fascists either. So where the fuck do they go? You know what I mean? They may have had ideology, let's say, that you and I don't agree with, but they're not evil. They're not the fucking devil, right? So where do these people go? They've got no home anymore. I don't know. I'm just stirring up trouble. I can.
That's what we do here, right?
I heard an American stand-up comic actually on YouTube, and he said, "Never ever make friends with an Australian." and he goes, "They will fuck your life up." He said they will enter your life. They will never be politically correct. They'll try to steal your girlfriend. They'll do all this. It's going on and on and on. He said, "Never."
I feel like there's some personal issues there.
No, and I was thinking, what Australian did you meet? God,
That's funny.
Oh my God.
I need to take a break.
Yes, let's do that. And we should probably talk about something other than Trump's terrorists.
Yes,
and the insurrection.
please let's. Yes.
So all right, let's take a quick break. And because there's been quite a bit happening in Australia, actually. I want to
hear about it.
So yeah, all right, We will be right back. And we are back. And, before we change the subject, to get away from, Trump and all the rest of it, I just wanted to bring up two things. Something I found fascinating that actually happened. And that was Trump's farewell speech. And we don't have to harp on about it or anything like that. But I just want to say, when he said, "The world now respects us, don't screw it up." And quite literally, the world face palmed and went, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, the world has been, except for Russia, the world has been waiting for 4 years for Freetown to go away and normality to come back. So that blew my mind that you would make a statement. He would make a statement like that. It just,
he's delusional. We've discussed that. He's delusional. Bottom line.
And it was also very, very interesting. For the first time in 4 years, we're hearing a press secretary make the words, "We'll see you again tomorrow." And also, "I don't know. I'll get back to you tomorrow."
Isn't that refreshing?
Right. It's been 4 years since we've heard that. Rather than the president is the most attractive man in the world. How dare you say that? The president is the greatest football hero that has ever lived. How dare you say that? Donald Trump personally defeated communism. Yeah, anyway, let's change the subject.
I don't want to talk about that asshole anymore.
No. I just wanted to say,
let's talk about something else.
That was interesting. So anyway, since our last podcast, Australia had Australia Day. Woohoo!
Tell me about Australia Day.
Well, it's the day we celebrate when a whole heap of British convicts had an orgy on the beaches of Sydney, basically. And
that's my kind of holiday.
And I'm not joking when I say that. That is very, very true. Australia Day is the 26th of January. This shows you how Australians don't even kind of remember their national day. 26th. We don't do all that patriotism shit, So anyway, 26th of January, and it's meant to celebrate the First Fleet, which is the first load of convicts arriving in Botany Bay, which they would then very quickly realise it was a mosquito-infested swamp, and they would move to what is now Sydney Harbour. They would actually find that, oh my God, how the fuck did Cook miss this entire beautiful harbour where houses on the beach now sell for $50 million? Like, how the fuck did he miss this real estate? But he did. He missed Sydney Harbour totally. He had no idea. They sailed right past it. They stopped at Botany Bay and they totally missed Sydney Harbour. Anyway, so they moved to Sydney, and that was the foundation of Sydney and the foundation of modern Australia rather than old Australia, which was a collection of, 1,000 different nations, But anyway. So we had Australia Day, which is an excuse for people to run around, paint their faces green and gold, get absolutely plastered, and burn some sausages on the barbecue, which is generally what happens. It's a see how pissed you can get and how many sausages on the barbecue you can burn. So,
wow.
Yeah, that's Australia Day. But
I like that holiday.
Yeah. Or
orgies, sausages, and
well, the whole idea of the orgy thing was that what happened was they'd been on these ships for like 8 months or whatever, coming from Britain. Okay, so by the time they got to Australia, they landed on the beach and they set up makeshift tents, and they brought some of the convicts out, and there were soldiers there, and there were other male convicts there, but there were a lot of female convicts as well. But there were a lot more men than there were women. They'd been locked away for 8 months on these ships, so they basically had a fuck fest on the beach. And
lovely.
And I'm not joking when I say that actually really happened. That was the first day.
That's fantastic history, right?
It was an orgy on the beach, yeah. So it's true. It's not like people are making it up. So anyway, so we had that, and but of course, it's not necessarily liked by all Australians because I think it's 1.5% of the Australian population are Indigenous, and they call Australia Day Invasion Day because they want the date changed. They don't. Okay, there are some who want it just ended, but I'm not going to take those people seriously because they want anyone that's not black to leave the country. So let's not take those people. Let's not take those people seriously. Okay. In fact, even most Aboriginals don't take those people seriously. So let's move on from them. All they want is the date to be changed. Tip Australia Day, all Australian, but just change the date. Don't make it the day that the first fleet arrived, sort of thing. So the argument has been raised again. So it'll be interesting to see whether we maybe do change our national day to another day.
Interesting.
So who knows? Who knows? I really, really don't know. But the big news in Australia, of course, is where I live. We're back in lockdown again. Again.
That's nuts.
But luckily, the last lockdown we did was 5 months. I can't believe it was 5 months, the last lockdown. This one is only 5 days. So realistically, should be pretty easy to handle.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but apparently my cats are destroying something in the other room, and I need to take a break for 1 second. I have no idea what's going on.
That's all right. We will take a timey-wimey break. Here we go.
Thank you.
And we're back. Wow, the magic of editing. We never left. Woo-hoo.
Good God. Cats, yes, I swear. I have 2 litter mates. They're brothers. And once in a while, they engage in like an epic battle against each other. And they will destroy everything in the room. So that's what they were doing. And I had to break it up. Everything's fine now, everybody.
So you've got 2 male cats.
I have 4 male cats in the house, but they're all fixed.
Oh, okay.
I have 6 cats in the house. But 2 of them belong to my mother. She had a male and female, and I had 4, and 3 males and 1 female. But they are litter mates, and the boys are. And so they still, for some reason, they have little sibling rivalry. They like to beat each other up. And it gets really rough. So if you hear it, you got to go out because they knocked a bunch of stuff off my bookshelf. And that's what happens. So.
Well, they say the problem with male felines is if they don't separate and go their own ways, whether they become independent or part of a family clan. The problem is if they all stay together, they never grow up. So they're actually adults, but internally they're teenagers.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
If that makes sense.
They're always children.
True. Yeah. that's a line from James Bond, that. How did you learn that? Growing up on the streets of China. How did you learn that? Never growing up at all. I should have maybe explained that better. There's some. James Bond is with the Chinese agent. I've forgotten her name now. Played by Michelle Yeoh. Anyway, with Pierce Brosnan, and they're handcuffed together.
Oh, that one.
And anyway, she gets out, and James Bond says to her, "How did you learn that?" And she says, "Growing up on the streets of China." And then suddenly he does exactly the same thing. And then she goes, "How did you learn that?" And he goes, "From never growing up at all."
That's cute, actually.
Yeah. A very good bit of writing.
I love Michelle Yeoh.
Oh, she's great, isn't she?
I never say that right. Gosh, she's fantastic. Well, I'm excited about her new series that's coming for Star Trek. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, if it gets the go-ahead, yes, what is it? It's Department...
Or sector,
yeah, something,
sector
yeah.
52 or something, 52, something like that. Yeah, but I'm very excited because I was sad that her character left Discovery, but then when I found out they were doing it because she was getting her own series, I was like, "Yay, go!" That'll be exciting.
I don't know. Just between you and me and anyone listening, I've never overly liked the character of Burnham in Discovery. And it's not that I've got anything against the actor or anything like that. I've just never liked it. She's a really whiny, whingy person. Like, she's always complaining about this and complaining about that. She will put the entire universe at risk for her own personal benefits. I don't know how she's a hero. I don't get it. You know, it's like...
Dude, she saved the whole universe. I don't even want to go there with you right now. How dare you besmirch her name in my presence? No.
I don't know. I
really do love that show.
I know.
And I hadn't... Yeah.
She also started the Klingon Federation War. I mean, you know, how many million people died in that? But then she ended it, and that would be said. And,
yeah.
You know, and then she also solved the mystery of the burn, which, you know...
which was weird, but don't give any spoilers because people might not have seen it. And very interesting. I'm curious to see where they're taking it now. You know?
Well, see, but here's my problem. I love Saru. I think Saru is such...
I love him too.
Right. And I'm really scared that he's going to be dumped back. Like, when Saru became captain of Discovery, yes! Of my favourite captains of all the Star Trek, you know, shows, Saru is one of my favourites. I love Saru. I think he's great.
Yeah.
And I'm scared now that we're not going to have Captain Saru anymore, you know, and that's...
I do believe he'll come back. I think they're just kind of trying to expand the story out a little bit. So
yeah.
I think we're going to see him, and I think he's going to come back, and he'll end up being captain on another ship because now that we're... And again, for those of you who haven't watched Discovery, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but now that Starfleet is sort of starting to build out a little bit more again. And I think we'll see him again. I'm hoping for that. I'm a big space travel buff anyway, so any of these shows take me somewhere. I'm pretty excited about.
Are you waiting for Brave New Worlds, Strange New Worlds, which is going to be the spin-off of Discovery with Captain Pike, number 1, and Lieutenant Spock. When he was still a lieutenant.
Well, okay, with the new actor. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, the new actor playing him.
Because,
you know, I have to say, I really liked Zachary Quinto as Spock for the films. I see why they had to do a different actor for this role because he's younger, but I really thought he was probably perfect casting to follow up Leonard Nimoy as Spock.
He's too old, though, the problem. I mean,
he is now. Yeah, for the series, he is, yeah. But God, I really loved him as Spock.
He was good. Especially in those scenes of the, what do they call it? The Kelvin timeline of those 3 films. When you see in the alternate, you know, universe, you see him talking to Leonard Nimoy, and you're going, yeah, I can see it. Yeah, I can see it. Like, I can actually see it, right? It worked well, actually. I thought
it was. You know me and my casting thing. That's the stuff I'm always looking at, and to me, that was probably just about the perfect casting you could do to follow up Leonard Nimoy in a role like that. So I like that guy.
Look, I actually think the J.J. Abrams concept, so the Kelvin universe, I actually think that the casting was excellent.
It was fantastic.
I just don't know that we needed an alternate reality of Star Trek. That was.
You know what? I needed what they gave me because I can say at the time, especially with the first one that they did with the new cast, I was hooked, and I know a lot of people didn't like it. But see, the thing with me is that the movie doesn't have to be spectacular for me to enjoy it. I can enjoy. There's some movies I like that are bad movies, but I still enjoy them. Okay, so I know a lot of people had a lot of complaints about the casting and different things, but I honestly thought the casting was pretty close to perfect, and I thought the stories were good. I thought they were well played, and so I enjoyed it. I'd like to see more of that, and I'm actually more interested now in the Discovery series because of those films. So I'm very interested to see where they're taking it now.
Well,
you know?
there's other ones. Season 2 of Picard has been put on hold, but it is coming back. But COVID has played hell apparently with Picard.
It's killing all of us.
Oh yeah, but it is coming back. We've got, was it Brave New World, which is coming, or Brave New Worlds, I think, is coming. Season 4 of Discovery. Oh, we've got Lower Decks, Star Trek Lower Decks. That's comedy,
really fun.
Yeah, the comedy animation.
I was surprised I liked that as much as I did.
We've got the Michelle Yeoh one coming, and there's another animated series as well, which is coming.
Really?
Yes, but it's going to be aimed at children. It's going to be Star Trek for children.
Interesting. Okay, well, you know what? They've always been able to broach subjects like diversity and stuff in such a great way. I hope that they'll continue that in a series for kids. I hope that that's going to be a way to bring that kind of thinking into kids' brains.
I may be incorrect in this, but I believe the main star is going to be, I've forgotten the actor's name, but she played Captain Janeway in Voyager.
Okay. You know what? I know she's great. I know a lot of people love her, but you know what? I didn't watch Voyager. It was during a time when I was kind of disillusioned with Star Trek in general.
Right.
I also didn't watch the original Enterprise, like the series show, the series Enterprise. I didn't watch that.
All right. Okay.
I got back into it after the films came out, Chris Pines and them. I've always been more of a Star Wars girl, but I walk the line these days, you know. So there are some things I missed. But one issue I had with her is way, way, way back in the 80s when I was young. She did a commercial. And it was a time here when two of our telecom companies had combined into one big one. And it was AT&T and South Central Bell. And I remember this commercial because her voice grated on me in such a way. I was like in 6th grade or something. Like, I don't remember exactly, but I was young. But I hated her so much because I hated the sound of her voice in this commercial. So when I saw that they were making her a captain of a Starfleet vessel in a new Star Trek show, let me tell you something. I was grossed out, and there was no way I was going to watch it. Can
I tell you something secretly? As of course you always do on a podcast. You always, tell your secrets.
Yes, secretly. Yes, don't tell us.
That's right. Don't tell anybody else. I never liked Captain Janeway. I never liked her. And this is not about the person. This is not about a female captain by any means. Because I love Giorgio. I fucking love Giorgio. Okay. So this is nothing about female versus male. I just didn't like her portrayal of a captain very much. And there's been other ones. I mean, for instance, one of my favourite Star Trek captains is black. Right? I love Captain Sisko. I thought he was when he shaved his head and grew the goatee. I thought, you are. I thought, I'll fucking turn for you, man. I would turn for you. Do you know what I mean? I thought, yes. No. But I thought, mind you, I've heard the actor interviewed, and I thought, oh, fuck me. I love the character much more than I love the actor. I think I never bonded with the actor.
Just that happened.
But because he's kind of just, I've heard him talk, and he's just like, oh my god, it just sounds like he's off on another realm, you know. But his portrayal of Sisko, oh my god, I love Captain Sisko. I thought he was fantastic.
Right. You know, I've met a lot of actors that are like that, though, that they're brilliant actors, and every time they play a role, you're just shocked at how well you hear them. Like when they come in for a reading or something, I'm always just blown away. But there's this whole time before they start reading that is the most uncomfortable time because they are just weird people, like in a way that you just aren't sure how to deal with them, because they're just different. But God, killer actors, you know? And so you almost have to put up with the bizarre behavior to get this great actor in your role, you know? It's a weird thing, believe me. So I don't know what you're saying. I don't know if the guy's weird. That's not what I was necessarily accusing him of.
No, he's not weird.
That happens like in a way that he's just different, like so different from their characters.
No, it
played them so brilliant.
Every time I've heard him interviews, he'll be like, I've forgotten his name, and I apologise for that. But you know, what did you think about when you would offer this role? And it's like, I thought that I sat back and I made a cup of tea and I thought about back in Africa there was some, and it's like, and half an hour later he's still not even addressed the question. You know, like it's well, and I know we often joke that we should rename this show, but I digress. But you can't do that in an interview. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like, I'm going to say, first of all, I just looked him up so that we could reference his name. His name is Avery Brooks. The name of the actor.
Avery Brooks.
I'm going to say, you go into interviews as an actor because you're told you have to go out and do the circuit because you're promoting something, and you're not sure what they're going to ask you, but you have anecdotes already in your head that you're going to use on the show. So no matter what they ask you, you end up working those things in. So that might be what happened when it just seemed like a weird way to take the answer. I'm just saying it could happen because I've seen it happen in interviews. So
well, it's interesting. It's like you look at so William Shatner, all right? He's fantastic in an interview, although I don't agree with anything he fucking ever says. I mean, William Shatner is one of those men that I love to hate and hate to love. It's like, I adore William Shatner, but I hate William Shatner. You know, it's like he stands for everything I disagree with. You know what I mean? But I still love him for some unknown weird reason.
I get it.
But he interviews extremely well. Patrick Stewart is just he's a dream. I mean, this man is perfection within a human body.
I would marry him tomorrow.
I know. He's just
I would do it.
We should actually say Sir Patrick Stewart. I mean, you know, he's he's just perfection. Just perfection. We then get so Avery Brooks. Well, I've said what I thought about Avery Brooks. We then get Archer, Captain Archer, who is, I always think of him as that thing where they jump between bodies all the time.
Quantum Leap,
and I've forgotten his name. And he's interesting when he's interviewed. Scott Bakula, that's it. But he's
Scott Bakula.
But he's like, I don't even think he realizes he was on a show called Star Trek. Well,
it was called Enterprise.
Well, it was. Well, I think season 3 they renamed it Star Trek Enterprise. I believe. There was a whole controversy about that, about the fact that it wasn't called Star Trek Enterprise. It was just called Enterprise.
Oh, God. That's ridiculous.
But he seems to want to talk about everything other than Star Trek. Which is fair enough, but you know,
actors get worried about getting typecast into something like that when they get defined by a role, and he wants to do other things. I get it, but I
know, but it's
I'm sorry for defending the actor.
No. And Janeway, once again, can't remember her name. Janeway. She's actually really good. She interviews really well, actually. She's. I
know people love her, though. They did.
She talks about
I just couldn't get past the voice.
I know, yes, well, she's really good at being able to talk about both her career, who she is, and who the role was. She's very, very good. She's a bit like Patrick Stewart. She's very, very good at that. Right. The problem is I just didn't like her portrayal. It was, and it was not that people sort of say, "Oh, Warren, you just because you don't like powerful women," and it's like, well, then you don't know my fucking friends. I clearly like powerful women. I just didn't like her portrayal of a powerful woman. It has nothing to do with powerful women, you know.
Right. It could have been the way the role was written too. So, I mean, there's a lot that goes into that, but I agree. I wasn't interested in watching her. And again, I know it was because I was prejudiced against her voice. But people don't watch things for whatever their personal reasons are. It's the same reason why actors don't get chosen for roles when they go in for an audition. It doesn't matter. Their audition could have been great, but when they went in, maybe they reminded the director of his ex-wife, and that was just enough to say, no, you can't have the role. So
I was fucking stunned.
It's weird things.
I was stunned. I found out, it was about 6 months ago, and I never knew this, that before Pierce Brosnan, I've forgotten his name now. He's married to Barbara Streisand. He's an actor. He's married to Barbara Streisand, or was. I don't know, or still is. And it's oh my God, I can't think of who it is right now, but I could see their face. Like, yeah, he was set.
James Brolin, or was it Elliot Gould? Because,
no, James Brolin. He was set to be the James Bond before Pierce Brosnan.
Really?
Yep.
James Brolin was?
Yep.
Wow, I had not heard that. That's interesting.
He's screen tested and everything. And they, apparently the Broccoli's were very happy, and it was he almost was going to be the next James Bond.
Huh. Well, originally Tom Selleck was going to be Indiana Jones.
I wonder how he feels about turning that down.
I don't know, man. Magnum was a great role for him.
But the thing is that Magnum made him as well. I mean, I'm not too sure doing the Indiana Jones films would have made him more popular than Magnum. I don't know. I don't know
if he would have gotten Magnum if he had done it. I can't remember which was first.
No. He turned down Indiana Jones because of Magnum.
To do Magnum?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I just knew that he was their first choice, and then I think about that and about how different the character would have been, just in general, for being portrayed by him. Harrison Ford, he's gotten a chance to at least be two very iconic characters in fandom, as Han Solo and then as Indiana Jones, which is pretty cool to me.
He's done pretty well. Yeah, that's amazing for getting that. Two characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like iconic characters, yeah.
Yeah. It's a bit like yes, Tanya Roberts, who we lost earlier in the year.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, well, hang on, Sheena, and Charlie's Angels and Bond Girl. That's three. But to everybody else in the world, they go, who was Tanya Roberts? And it's, okay, yeah, fair enough, all right, yeah. You don't live in the same weird world I do.
No, nobody lives in anybody else's weird world. I can't speak.
Neither can I. This show was brought to you by the letter S for Scotch. Sorry.
Yeah, and spiced rum.
And spiced rum. So there you go. I still remember it was somebody who commented on our show on Twitter when we were talking about we need a producer. It's like, we said, a producer, my kingdom for a producer. And they came back and they said, don't you mean a bartender?
Yeah, I could use a bartender. That would be very nice for me. I told you that I already have a drinking machine, but I haven't bought any new pods for it in a while. So it's like my Keurig for cocktails. Yeah. I haven't bought any new pods for it in a while. I'm thinking about it, but I've been trying to be good. So I'm trying not to drink too much now. We're going to be, hopefully by the fall, getting back to some semblance of normalcy here.
Oh, yes.
We'll see.
Well, we were talking
I'm hoping, because MegaCon's coming, and I have a Sith costume to wear, and I can't go to MegaCon if we're still in the middle of a fucking pandemic. So
I was about to bring that up because we started talking about the fact that Melbourne had gone back into lockdown again.
Yes,
and then I think we started talking about, as we always do, was Star Trek is of course linked to the lockdown in Melbourne.
Obviously.
So, But to give you an idea of the difference between how Australia and New Zealand, who deals with the pandemic very much the same way, is so different to the rest of the world. We're in lockdown at the moment because in the last week and a half, I think we've got 21 cases of COVID.
Huh.
Wow. Now, we're a city of 5 million people. Mm-hmm. We're in lockdown for 5 days for 21 cases.
Well, that's across your entire city, and we probably get that at one of our high schools in a week. So, yeah.
So, the thing is, we do actually take it very seriously in Australia. Our biggest problem is where we're getting all our COVID at the moment, and this is why we shake our fists at New Zealand, because we go, you pricks, you get all the glory and we do all the fucking hard work, is... You know why New Zealand has no new cases of COVID? No one's coming into the fucking country.
Hobbits don't get COVID.
Right. Okay? I know. So you think about so Australia gets itself to COVID neutral, then starts bringing people into the country, and guess what? We get COVID again. COVID. New Zealand, for every 1,000 people that come into Australia, there's one who goes into fucking New Zealand. Right? So it's like... And we sit back in Australia going, seriously? We're spending billions of dollars on this and you're sitting back doing fuck all and you get all the glory. It's like, really? Fucking
You're not bitter, are you? I feel like you're bitter a little bit.
Fucking Kiwis. No, look,
hey, I love New Zealand.
I'll be honest. Look, I'll be honest. I'm allowed to say that because I'm Australian, all right? But it's because we have a love-hate relationship. It's like, don't
write me angry letters.
No, I mean, we call them mate, they call us bro. And it's, but that's the thing, New Zealanders don't say mate, just for anyone who... out there who wants to know. They don't eat Vegemite either. They eat Marmite. So
they're right. Because Vegemite's gross. We've discussed this.
Have you ever had Marmite? Do you reckon there's any difference?
I wouldn't eat any kind of it.
Okay. Fair enough.
I'm not eating any kind of it ever again. More Vegemite. No.
But it's
not happening.
It's very simple to keep yourself COVID free when there's 28 people in the country and 5 million sheep. Right? Okay,
then you think Scotland would be doing all right. Okay, but they're not.
No. I mean, look.
I'm sorry. Don't send me angry letters from Scotland either.
Huge respect. I mean, I'm actually a huge fan of Jacinda Ardern and the Labor Party in New Zealand. Big fan of them. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's very easy when there's nobody coming into the bloody country. Do you know? It's very easy to keep yourself COVID zero, neutral. We're bringing in thousands of people a week, right? And we're trying to put them all into quarantine. And every now and again, at the moment, we've had 20 cases in a week and a half, and it's put us into lockdown. Yes, but it was interesting. I was speaking to a friend in Britain who lives in a small rural town, and they were sort of saying, well, I think it was back then, I think we were at 8 cases or something like that. And they said, 8 cases? And you're going into lockdown? We had 147 today in their town alone, right? And they were not in lockdown, right? Well, they kind of were, but it was a British lockdown, which means everything's still open. So,
well, that's what we have. I mean, we've got that shit going on here. I hear in some cities here, like Chicago, they've been arguing with the teachers' unions because they want everybody to go back to school, but the teachers' unions are saying, hey, please don't do that because it's not safe for the kids and you guys aren't vaccinating us, which is a big fucking problem. So they've been dealing with that. But here in Florida, all of our schools are actually just open.
But your governor doesn't believe COVID is a real thing. Is that right? Or am I exaggerating?
I don't know what he believes. He's a Trumpy. I don't know if he has any concept.
He's a QAnonist,
of anything.
He's a QAnon guy, or
I don't know about that. I don't necessarily think so, but I would not necessarily be surprised to learn it if it was true. He just doesn't care about closing the state because all he cares about is tourism. Doesn't seem to understand that people aren't going to come here as much because they're still coming here because people are dumb, coming here and spreading it more through our community, and then they go home to their community and take it with them if they get it here or whatever. It's bad. Yeah. But our entire economy is based on tourism, which they think, oh, well, we have to do something to protect that. But by doing that, they're literally making it worse here constantly. We're starting to see a little improvement because people are starting to get vaccinated, but it's been a nightmare here. It's a big convoluted mess. Every county is doing it a different way. It's just a mess. Well, so, I mean, at least you guys are smarter about it than we are.
Well, you have to remember, we've gone into lockdown for 20 cases. 0 deaths, 20 cases. It's not 20,000 cases. 20 people, 0 deaths. We're in lockdown, 5 million people. It's one of the reasons why the country tends to claim that we are COVID neutral. Like, we don't really have COVID. Up until a week ago, you could do anything in this country. Absolutely anything. And it's only my city that's gone into lockdown. The rest of the country, they're still, they're fine. Hop on Tinder, go on a date, it's all cool. You can't do that in Melbourne at the moment, right? Well, I'm not. You know what I mean. What I mean is that even without a vaccine, we beat COVID. Is what I'm trying to say. Right. The problem is we keep having people coming into the country. They go into quarantine. They breach quarantine. We have a problem with quarantine, and then we go into lockdown again. We've got to the stage now that there are some politicians who are saying we have to stop bringing people back into the country. In other words, you now hold out for COVID where you are. So if you're an Australian and you're in Los Angeles, you're going to ride this out in Los Angeles. You're not coming back. Because that's kind of what New Zealand did. And that's the thing. It's really easy to say, oh, we're COVID free, when no one is allowed, within your fucking shoreline. Right. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. I don't know what's the right thing. I mean, can you say to your own citizens you're not allowed to come back home? That's pretty harsh.
I mean, I guess you can. But I guess you can if you're trying to protect the public at large. But I would think that the country then, and maybe they did, I don't know, did they help financially for those people that were stuck in another country? Well, because I know you guys do a lot better there than we do here.
Well, it depends. It depends a bit on when it was. For people. Early 2020, they paid your airfare to come back to Australia. Then they stopped. You had to do it yourself. Then they paid for the quarantine. All you had to do was get the air ticket. They paid for the quarantine. Now they've said, no, we're 2021. If you're not back by now, why didn't you come back earlier? So therefore, you have to pay for the quarantine. I don't necessarily disagree with that, because really, you've had 12 months to come back.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, there is a
I can see that. Sure.
Right. Okay. So now you have to pay for the quarantine. Mind you, they never will. I mean, the money's never going to be collected. Let's be honest. Right. I mean, so...
they'd collect it here, but,
collecting debts.
Especially from the poorer people, because that's the people that they pay more here.
Yeah, so... But, I mean, I don't know. The problem is our Prime Minister, although the Australian government has done a pretty good job, actually done an excellent job with COVID, to be honest with you. And they're a conservative government. This actually goes to show that conservatism isn't necessarily bad. It's where you take it to, which is bad.
You're a conservative government, which is like our Democrats. So.
Well, yeah, I know. Yeah, okay. All right, fair enough. Yeah, all right. I'll take that. But our current Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, or ScoMo, as we call him, or Scotty from marketing, as he's often referred to. is he's not very good. Okay, he's not going to go down in history as one of the world's great leaders. He's kind of like he's there because he's there. Like, I mean, like in the middle of a pandemic, we got a prime minister who was sort of like, what do you think? I don't know. What do you think? I don't know. What do you think? Right? He's not the world's great decision maker. And so that didn't really help. But he was very, very good with financial support. I mean, Australians were being paid, what was it, $1,500 a fortnight COVID support. So, you know how you got, was it $2,000 checks or something, you know, for your COVID? Was it?
I think we got like a 2,000 or a 12 or something.
Okay, so in Australia, you were getting $1,500 a fortnight. And that hasn't ended yet. That's still going through now.
Yeah.
Right? Now, however, you don't get it if you're still fully employed, because that would be a little bit unfair. So, right. So if you lost your job or something like $1,500. And that's been going for almost 12 months now. So
yeah, you guys are, and they're arguing whether or not we're going to get $1,400 or $2,000. Like they said they were going to send $2,000 checks, and now they're saying, oh, it's going to be $1,400 because we sent you $600 already. So another $1,400. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing that they really think that after all these months and people losing their jobs and things being closed, that's all they need to do. And, it's pretty gross. Well, you guys always do better at that than what you do.
Well, it was pretty amazing. Britain has actually announced that they're going to copy the Australian COVID system.
Well, good.
They announced it in Parliament. They said, we're going to do what the Australians are doing because it seems to be working. So no one's actually, but this is the thing. See, here you go. My Aussie fucking back is up. Everyone goes, oh, New Zealand. No one's copying their model because their model is don't deal with the rest of the world. That's not a model, right? That's not a model. So it was very interesting to see the British Parliament actually say, we've looked around the world and we're going to follow what Australia has done. And apparently they're going to change their whole system of quarantine. I think it's on the 1st of March, and it's going to be based on the Australian system. So I thought that's really interesting, really interesting. I mean, when you've got other countries talking about how many thousands of dead, and Australia's talking about 10 cases and 0 dead.
Right.
Yeah, so anyway.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's doing better than we are.
Yeah, that's well. Yeah, I know.
So many levels. So,
what's it like? It's like, what's it like living in America? Forget about the Trump Biden shit. I mean, I spent 2 weeks wearing aviators and playing with my model trains. I've done an Amtrak train too, so I ran that in honor. But what's it like in America at the moment? You know, like what are people like when you go to if you go to the shops, if you drive down the road? What are people like?
For the most part, I think they're, for the most part, the same as they were before. The only difference that I've really noticed is that there's some people that, of course, are never going to wear a mask, and they stand out immediately. The question is, what do people in our society do about it now? I think the majority of people either ignore it or just give them a look, like they'll stare them down and not say anything. I was born from a woman who absolutely has to say something, apparently, when someone isn't wearing a mask. And, that has led to some issues because I think the people that aren't going to do it are just the kind of people that are going to be confrontational. It's almost like they're looking for it. So I don't know. For the most part, things aren't different. I have noticed that people have gotten kind of COVID weary in a sense of, initially there weren't hardly any people on the roads and different things. People were staying indoors more. I've noticed a lot more people out and about just acting like everything is normal, even if they're wearing a mask. So I think people are becoming, in some ways, more comfortable with the situation, which is also scary because I think sometimes when we get comfortable with something, we tend to let our walls down a little bit and we are a little more lax with the precautions. I mean, I guess I've taken some risks too. Unfortunately, I've made, some good things, but I always wear a mask and I do try to be super careful. But there are times when you can't avoid going into a place where you probably are at a higher risk of getting something. So for the most part, I think people are about the same, except for the fact that I know that we have a higher rate of mental illness and depression and stuff like that right now. Yeah. With people's lives being kind of turned upside down and people being separated from their friends and their family. And it's going to go on longer the fewer people that take it seriously. So I'm hoping it'll improve here. I think and I hope that it's making us appreciate the little things a little more, honestly.
Well,
but we'll see.
We have every Australia Day, the Lamb Council. Yes, there is such a body. It's called the Lamb Council, which supports sheep farmers, basically, and the industry in regards to lamb. And they do an advert every year on Australia Day. It's become a tradition now. It's been going on for about 20 years. And it was always done by a guy called Sam Ketovich, but he's so old now, they literally have to wheel him out and just film him just miming the lines or something, right?
Yeah.
And anyway, but this year's was very good because they always try to be a little. I mean, last year they did one where Australia and New Zealand were discussing becoming one country again, and they decided that they had to have a conversation, so they met in the middle of the Tasman Strait and they set up a barbecue floating right in the middle. Well, they had a barbecue in the middle. And the year before that, they had was one of I think the best one they'd ever done, which was it starts because these adverts are quite long. They will go on for about 4 or 5 minutes, okay? And
right.
But they only do one a year, remember? So it's quite a big thing. And they started with there are these Aboriginals in Sydney Harbour, and they've got a gas barbecue. It's like 1788, and they've got a gas barbecue. But anyway, right, 1788, they've got this gas barbecue, right? And they're barbecuing all this stuff. And then these people turn up, and it's these Dutch guys, right, from Holland. And they're talking, and they offer them a fucking dope, right? And they say, no. And they say, no, we've got something better. It's lamb, right? They give them the lamb, right? And then all these other ships come, and then suddenly the British come, right? And they go and they put the flag in the ground. They go, we claim, this territory, and the Aboriginals are just there watching while they're having their barbecue. And the other good thing about it too is that when everyone's in period costume, but the Aboriginals are in like 2019 clothes, right? They're like, right? They're totally, dressed in modern times, and then suddenly all these other people, and then we get this ship from Greece, and then we get all this Vietnamese boat and this Chinese boat, and there's all these people, and it turns and they said, oh my God, do we have enough? And someone says, yeah, we've got enough. The country's big enough. Let's open it up. And it was meant to be this whole idea that we're all of different nationalities, but we're all one country. We're Australian. Doesn't matter. Right. And it was a really, really great one. And really, really good advert, but
and it was for lamb, so
and for lamb, yeah. And but this year they did their one where there's this old guy and he comes out of a shop and he's walking on, and everything's like very Soviet, very sort of whatever. And he comes along and there's this giant wall, and he looks at it, and the concrete starts to break away. And then he starts to pick away at the concrete, and he puts his eye through it, and he can see a family sitting in the park on the other side. And he goes, he starts to pick away at it more. And then this policeman comes up, and the guy goes, look, there's people on the other side. And the policeman's, what? And they both start to pick away at it, and they're looking, and it's like, You mean there's people on the other side of this wall, and then it's like the fall of the Berlin Wall. Everyone comes rushing in, and they're there with jackhammers and sledgehammers and bulldozers, and they're ripping the walls down. And it's because through COVID, every time there's an outbreak, the states put up a wall which says you can't cross state borders, right? Whenever there's an outbreak. So it was meant to be a 2000, thing like that. But the great thing is when they're ripping down the walls, like the tear down of the Berlin Wall, and these people are running in like they did it all with CGI. They're running in like World War Z, with all these fucking people, mass people running at the walls and everything. And
right.
And they're tearing the walls down. And then this one guy is standing there in his sports jacket, right, with a cup of coffee. And then a policeman just looks at the other police officer and goes, I see the people from Melbourne have arrived. Because there's this attitude in Australia that the people from Melbourne do absolutely no work. They sit around in their fancy clothes and drink coffee. So it was really good. And then they fight and they break through the wall. And the kid goes, who's that? And they go, they're from Queensland. And it's like, because they're in New South Wales. And it's like, and some of these people realise, I don't know. I'm boring everybody, but it was a fantastic advert. And then at the very end, Sam Kitovich, the man who kicked this whole thing off 20 years later, and he busts through the wall in a tank, driving the turret of a tank. And he's there and he goes, I love the smell of lamb in the morning.
I smell a lamb at any point as long as it's roasted.
All of this has become a national identity to sell lamb.
That's cute, though.
Anyway,
and
I'll shut up now.
I would buy the lamb.
Oh.
Well, we should wrap it up anyway, because it's late for me here. And I'm got to get up in the morning and mail some stuff out, even though it's Sunday. I've got to get it packaged up so I can mail it out on Monday.
It's Valentine's Day.
Tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Yes, it is. And I have made cookies, which I am packaging to send to different places in the country for some people. And, of course, they're going to be late because that is basically my entire MO in life. That's just the way I roll. So, yeah, I have a serious procrastination problem, and I try to do too much, and I never get it done on time. So if I'm sending you cookies, they're going to be late, and deal with it. That's the end of that.
There you go. Enough said.
That's right.
All right. Well, that was myself, the Saint, and the Halo chatting, as we often do, about everything and nothing and under the influence of alcohol. So, hope you enjoyed. We'll be back. Look, I don't know. We will be back. It won't be next week, but, we'll be back again.
It might be. It might be next week. It could be next week.
Could be this week?
It could be.
Okay.
Could be.
We'll see. All right.
So,
that's
you got to just, tease them a little, because it might. It might not be, but it might. So. That's the way I like to deal with people.
So,
never know.
So anyway, I hope you enjoyed. As everybody knows, this is just the Cocktails and Conversation Hour. It is just myself and Irish chatting about everything and about nothing while we drink a cocktail. It's not meant to be about anything, it's just about, we just record our chats. So
I just like to rant. So yeah, thank you for listening.
So do I. New Zealand! Anyway, sorry.
Behave yourself.
Sorry. Anyway, hope you will join us next time. Thanks for listening. And, what was it? That's goodbye from me, and he said goodbye from him. I don't know, it's the two running line.
Yeah, it's goodbye from me as well. And
anyway,
au revoir, and Quill, and Auf Wiedersehen, and all that stuff.
All that stuff. That's right. As we disappeared down the staircase, or was it up the staircase? I can't remember.
I don't know where you're going, so I can't answer that question.
Goodbye, farewell, Auf Wiedersehen.
No Nazi children, okay?
They were not Nazis. They escaped the Nazis. They escaped the Nazis. I know. Yeah.
I know.
Even though, do you know that's so? Do you know the actual family lived something like 200 kilometers away from the Swiss border? There was no way known that they walked. And we know anyway. I'm not even going down that path.
No, we're going goodbye. We're getting off now. We're doing that.
All right. No worries. All right.
It's not
no
what
worries.
I meant to say. we're stopping the show now.
We'll be back when we're back. I choose to stop the show now.
Now.
No worries. Cheers, guys.